Welcome. Today we're going to begin our readings with So Many Secrets. Why do I have these freaky powers that make me public enemy number one? You will meet Elyana, who's tried to keep her telekinetic powers a secret until today. Teresa will be reading for you today, and although we don't have a video of her reading, we do have a still photograph. Here's Teresa, reading chapter 1.
So Many Secrets. Why do I have these freakish powers that make me public enemy number one? By Lorraine Siegel. Chapter 1. It isn't easy being an outcast or a hero. I've been both. Lansing Michigan Dome. Tuesday, August 17th, 2083. I watched the flickering blue lights and breathed deeply. Their energy called to me. I wanted to drift up and touch them. My door clicked open and snuffed out the dream. Mom. Reality. I sensed Mom's presence in the doorway and hoped she wouldn't come in. Deep, rhythmic breathing to fake sleep. Elyana, are you awake? Are you still mad at me? I didn't respond. It's just that I worry you'll forget and do something crazy in public. I swallowed a useless response. Okay. Mom sighed. I'll see you tonight. The door clicked shut and I flinched. I wasn't exactly mad at Mom, but I couldn't think of an adequate response. We both wanted the same thing, the craziness to stop. But my energy was ratcheting up and my thoughts became actions. Like last night after supper, when I wished the dirty dishes would take themselves to the sink, and they did. Major mistake. Mom and Dad didn't say anything, but I saw the way they looked at each other. I closed my eyes in the hopes a resolution would present itself. This morning I still didn't know how to control my energy. That's when I heard the singing. Singing? I was alone in the apartment. I wasn't plugged in. But I opened my eyes and saw the vision of a woman projected onto the ceiling of my room. She was lying on a cushion, weeping, and singing in a foreign language that I'd never heard, but somehow understood. Elyana, Elyana, where are you? Over and over the woman sang, until someone laid a hand on her forehead and she relaxed into sleep. I leaped out of bed and checked the ceiling. Nothing. Was I awake or dreaming? I pinched myself. Definitely awake. I'd definitely seen a woman who called my name, and she definitely had my same freakish eyes and copper-colored hair. I paced uncertainly around my small room. The woman in the vision was slender but long-limbed and stretched the full length of my ceiling. A giant for sure. Was that what I would become? I'd already passed the 7-foot mark. Maybe I'd dreamed up the woman so I'd have someone in the world who looked like I did. Was I adding to my weirdness by hallucinating? I checked the ceiling again. Nothing. But the image of the woman was seared into my brain, and the woman's voice was singing in my blood. Impossible, but real. My body hummed with unwanted energy. I shook my arms as though I could discharge the energy into the room. Stupid reaction. Only swimming would dissipate the extra energy. I had to get to the pool. In record time, I dressed, skipped breakfast, and bombed out of the apartment. I needed space to breathe. It was still early enough that only a few people wandered in and out of the shops. Most everyone was either in school or at work. I didn't need to be in a classroom or at my computer because I'd already studied enough in the fields of astrophysics, chemistry, and literature to earn degrees if I'd completed the required field work. Impossible. I was too young to be employed. At the center, I chose a locker around the corner from the other 15-year-old girls, changed, and sat on the bench to wait for them to head for the pool. I didn't want to parade in front of them in my lanky, boobless body. I tuned them out until I heard a cacophony of the girls' voices talking about the Long Island Dome. I knew the ocean was threatening to permanently flood it and worried about what would happen to the people. "My dad says when the dome floods we shouldn't take them in," one of them said. "Right. They decided to live there. Let them go outside. Let them swim for it," the first one said. I imagined people drowning, heard their cries. My energy exploded. Locker doors banged open and closed. Bang, bang, bang. My muscles screamed. I had to move. I ran and dove into the pool. Waters rose, heads bobbed and disappeared. I saw the woman's face, the woman from my ceiling vision, heard her voice, not the voice of drowning people in Long Island, but her voice, singing, calling my name, "Elyana, Elyana." I sliced through the water and swam toward the woman. She wasn't a dream. She was real. I had to go to her. Round and round I swam, losing inches, losing years, losing my place in the universe. I churned through the water, no longer in the center pool. Elsewhere, I was swimming with something silvery. Thousands of buggy eyes stared at me. Big mouths opened and closed. Monster fish were going to eat me. I opened my mouth to cry and it filled with water. I sank and thrashed wildly to find air. My feet touched the bottom of somewhere. The monster fish darted at me again. Buggy eyes, open mouths. I pushed and pumped my legs. That helped. Now legs and arms were moving, thrashing, thrashing. Something grabbed me around the neck and dragged me through the water. I twisted my body, flailed arms, but whatever had fastened onto me wouldn't let go. A deep voice said, "Calm down." But I couldn't calm down. The woman, the fish. Many hands grabbed me and laid me on something hard. Someone else said to calm down. Someone slapped my face, demanded to know what was wrong. When I opened my eyes, the deck was flooded. Towels and flotation devices were in the pool. The girls in the bleachers whispered and pointed at me, laughed at the freak who'd made this mess. I shoved away the lifeguard's hands, rolled over, and found my feet. No way could I look the lifeguard in the eye and explain. How could he understand what happened? I didn't know myself. Was I hallucinating? Having a nervous breakdown? Just being freaky me. My wet feet slapped against the tile floor as I ran for the locker room. My hands were shaking so I couldn't get my wetsuit off. I had to get out of here before the woman who'd helped pull me out came in. I can't talk to her. Can't talk to anybody. I gave up on the wetsuit and struggled to pull on my shorts. My arms got tangled up in the wrong holes of my top and I fought instant claustrophobia. Across the room, a locker door slammed shut. I groaned and shoved my undies and shoes into my bag along with my goggles. I slipped my shades on over my freakish eyes, and the room suddenly turned dark. I had to get out before more locker doors started advertising my hysteria. I ran up the stairs and crashed through the door to the street. A woman coming out of the Spotted Dog Cafe nearly dropped her takeout bag when she saw me run past. No one ever ran in the dome, and certainly not barefoot and wearing wet clothes. I skirted other amazed pedestrians and made it to my building more shaken than winded. I dashed up the 4 flights to my apartment. The hand scanner beeped and refused to do its job. I wiped my wet palm on the driest part of my shorts and tried again. Once inside, I dumped my bag and headed for the kitchen. My body screamed for calories. The seconds it took to warm the bread and cheese in the microwave seemed like hours. I inhaled the food and headed for my room. I shed wet clothes, dressed, and got horizontal. The whole traumatic scene replayed over and over in my mind. The woman from my vision was in the pool calling to me, and buggy-eyed fish threatened me. I totally lost control. Would I be allowed back in the pool? Would I be allowed to stay in the dome? I had to get control, but I didn't know how to do that. I didn't want to think about it anymore. I found my tablet and played e-games until my brain was numb. I was reasonably calm by the time my parents got home. At dinner, Mom talked non-stop about a new strain of tomato they were developing. Something fast-growing, great taste, beautiful ruby red, blah, blah. Dad did his best to look interested and nodded in all the right places, but I wasn't fooled. They knew about the pool. Mom finally stopped chattering, and Dad said, "We need to talk." A jolt of energy flickered through me. I didn't trust myself to look at him and stared at my plate like it was a door into another universe. Dad cleared his throat. "I got a call from the center. They said you were having some kind of fit, and they were afraid you'd drowned. The lifeguard who rescued you was surprised by your reaction. No thanks or apologies for the mess. You blew past him like he didn't exist." Long pause. "Care to comment?" I heard the concern in Dad's voice, but shook my head without looking up. I couldn't tell him about the banging locker doors and my explosive need to move, or about the woman and the monster fish. I stared at my pretend universe for hours. "Okay, if you can't talk to us about it, maybe you can talk to Dr. Cummings. He's a psychotherapist. You have an appointment with him tomorrow morning in the Omni building." The other dimensions in my plate suddenly lost my interest, and I looked up. "Don't worry, just be yourself," Dad said. Mom exploded. "What do you mean she should be herself? What self is that? The one that moves stuff just by thinking about it?" "She wouldn't be so stupid." "You don't know what she'd do, and I don't think she does either. What did she do at the pool? There's more to that than almost drowning." They glared at each other across the table. "Calm down, Shannon. The doctor's just going to talk to her." Mom slammed her fist on the table so hard the salt shaker dumped over. "No, he's not. He's going to ask her questions. I don't want her to go. She's not going." "Don't be ridiculous. She doesn't have a choice. This is an order. If she doesn't, we'll all be sent outside." The tension in the room ignited my energy. My body began to shake like it had in the locker room. Words rushed out of my mouth. "I didn't ask to be this way," I shouted. My half-eaten plate of spaghetti got airborne, hung over the table, and crashed onto the floor. Marinara sauce splattered across the carpet like blood from a crime scene. Glasses uprooted themselves, and water flooded the table. A blizzard of napkins flew around the room. "Stop it, Elyana," Mom snapped. But I couldn't control my energy. I ran to my room and slammed the door so hard it cracked. I flung myself onto the bed, and a bottle of something crashed onto the bathroom floor. I had to get control before I destroyed everything. I sat up and began deep breathing exercises. Someone knocked on the door. "I can't talk now, Mom." The door tapping stopped, and I heard them talking about me. I could always hear them. They didn't know that. I had so many secrets. I didn't know if keeping secrets was to protect them or to protect me. What if I was finally too weird for even them to accept? Gradually, I stopped shaking. I didn't want to think about my parents, about what just happened. I needed to focus on the shrink. No way could I let him know my secrets. I'd have to know as much about him as I could. So, from the desk, I retrieved my tablet. A search told me that Dr. Cummings got his MD at Harvard. He'd interned at General Hospital in Lansing before setting up his own practice. It seemed a curious career path until I realized that by the time he got his degree, the domes had gone up. All the known crazies were left outside the dome with the criminals, the poor, and anyone who didn't meet the established criteria. Dr. Cummings could be a challenge. He apparently had the creds to sort me out. As desperately as I wanted to stop the energy bursts and crazy visions, I was afraid of what he'd find. I knew I wasn't normal. Not physically, not mentally, and not something else. Psychically, maybe? I definitely didn't fit the legal criteria to stay in the dome.
Thanks, Teresa. In our next video, we will learn what Elyana discovers while she's under hypnosis. Please join us and tell your friends.